everybody. So I want to go over the instructions real quick of how to complete this assignment and talk about a few things. Our goal today is to be able to identify limitations that landforms create in the Eastern world. And so what we need to really think about here is, what is a limitation? So if you think of a speed limit, it's there and it's supposed to hold us back. It's there to stop us and prevent us from doing something more, right, by law. And so a geographical limitation is something that is going to be holding us back and preventing us from going forward or accomplishing something or getting something. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. That's what we're trying to get to. Our criteria guide today, to get that A, I can understand and communicate limitations that 7 landforms created in the Eastern world. So we're going to be looking at 7 different types of landforms and discussing them in detail and figuring out how those landforms hold us back. Okay? Now, the instructions for today, we're going to use Wikipedia to find an example of a specific landform in the Eastern world. You can only do the Eastern world, so you can only look up Africa, Antarctica, Asia, and Australia. Only those 4. Okay? Excuse me. Now, I know that we've always been taught that Wikipedia is not the greatest, and that still holds true, but I want to talk quickly about Wikipedia. Okay? If you've ever seen Christmas Vacation, there's Crazy Cousin Eddie. Okay? And Crazy Cousin Eddie is a little bit wild. You don't listen to what he says too much, but he knows a little bit about a little bit. And so there's got to be some truth there. Okay? So Wikipedia is like Google's Crazy Cousin Eddie. You don't go there if you want to know anything reliable. But if you want like an idea or to get some basic information, you can start at Wikipedia and then go search for more and confirm it. So we're not going to use Wikipedia if we're writing a paper, if we need to cite something, anything like that. But we can use it just to get some basic background, and that's what we're doing today. So we're going to use Wikipedia. You're going to find a picture of the landform. You will put the picture in, and then you will tell me where what continent and country the landform's on. You'll identify if the landform is an example of a natural barrier. Now remember, a natural barrier is something that happens naturally that blocks us from getting somewhere. So a good example of that we talked about is when it storms and a tree falls down in the road. That instantly causes a natural barrier. Another example from today's list that we talked about is a mountain, right? A mountain is in our way on land and is blocking us from getting somewhere, so we have to adapt and go around or over or through, however we do that. So there's an answer. And then there's 2 questions on each slide that you're going to answer. Now, if you're unsure about what it is you're looking up, I provided definitions of each of the landforms and natural barrier. Okay? So if you're unsure, you can just look. And finally, this slide here gives us questions to think about. And we'll reference this later on as we get into answering the questions on our slides. But I want you to know that they're here, right? These are questions to help guide our thinking. And so as you're trying to identify what limitations and how these landforms affect life, you can ask yourself, how would this affect how I find food? How would it affect how I dress? How would it affect how I get places? My access to water. This list can go on. You can add to it anything that we do in everyday life. Like, how would living near this landform affect how you do that? Reference this sheet when you get stuck. It is here to help, and if you think about it, it will help guide those questions.